Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about the new YieldMax ETF that was recently announced. Ticker symbol SQY or SQY. I don't know how you would say that. Anyways, let's get it. So the first thing that I pulled up here on the charts is the Square technical analysis chart, or the Square price action chart. Basically, the stock performance here. As you guys can see, the ticker symbol up here is SQ, but the name was changed to Block Inc. We're going to get into that later. They did actually change their name, similar to how Facebook changed their name to Meta. So as you guys can see here, we kind of have like this topping pattern on Square, and ever since then, Square Inc. or Block Inc. has basically just been getting kind of pounded. In terms of price action, we haven't really seen much of a recovery. So you guys got to understand a couple of things here. When Square changed their name from Square to Block, they changed it because basically blocks pretty much means blockchain. Uh, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Square at some point in time did purchase a significant amount of Bitcoin, worth about 50 million bucks at the time, so about 4,700 Bitcoin. This was reported on October 8th of 2020, so this was roughly about 3 months after the previous Bitcoin halving. And they changed their name on the exchange from Square to Block on December 10th of 2021. Now, I'm going to explain why this is relevant to the video in a minute. So if we go from this date here, you can see December 10, 2021 was almost exactly at the peak of Bitcoin, slightly after we started dumping off. So yeah, pretty much when all the hype in crypto and Bitcoin was at its absolute highest was when they decided to change their name from what it was to Block Inc. So basically, that was it was relisted under that ticker on the NYSEC, or SE. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange is what that stands for. So as you guys can see, from the peak to the bottom, this thing dropped a whopping 77%. For anybody that still has the nerve to say that YieldMax ETFs are a scam, well, you're taking a look at double the loss on your money on this particular stock. And this is one of the big tech stocks, by the way. It's not like an Amazon or an Apple, but it's up there. So from the recent low to the recovery, it's about 69%. So, sorry. So this is Bitcoin, my bad. Wrong chart. Let's actually go to the Square chart. I'm tripping here. So anyways, as you can see, they look very similar. Bitcoin and Square looks almost exactly alike. Square pretty much started dumping roughly about the same time that Bitcoin did. And from the peak to the low, about an 85% drop. It's actually worse than Bitcoin. From what you can see, it's pretty terrible. So again, to those haters out there, they're like, oh, YieldMax ETFs or this or that ETF is a scam. I'm like, well, dude, anything could be considered a scam if it doesn't line up with your ideals and your beliefs. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it's a scam. So I suppose those people that thought it was a scam probably would have thought that Block Inc. was a scam if they FOMO'd in at the top like a noob retail trader and basically held all the way down. So that's what the Square chart looks like. Now we're going to go take a look at the actual YieldMax ETF. Why did I bring up this chart? Because a lot of people have been making comments about taking a look at the underlines, so we are. As you guys can see, it is sitting on major multi-year support here, so we are kind of expecting it to bounce off of this area at some point. When that's going to be, I don't know, probably next year, since I would say that Block Inc. has a lot of Bitcoin that kind of would help determine the price. So here's the SQY ETF. As you guys can see, it pretty much just went straight down on the first day. We don't have a lot of data here. It's a pretty significant drop. I would say this is probably about 10%. Okay, maybe not 10%, but still a lot, about 7%. So personally, if I was going to buy this, I would rather buy it after a little bit of data is shown. I mean, getting $1 per share off is a pretty good deal, in my opinion. If we go over here to Twitter, you guys can see that on the 10th they did announce what the new ETF they were talking about was going to be. So it turns out to be SQY. And then it says that it launched SQY. Now, as for the dividend payment, we're not expecting this to pay this month. It might not even pay next month. I mean, guys, we might be waiting until December to get a payment from this. Again, we thought Coney was going to pay in September, but it didn't end up paying until this month. So we'll just have to wait and see. But they got a neat little chart here, as you guys can see, of the different percentages and all the ETFs and all that jazz. So if you guys are on Twitter and you wanted to pop over there and look at it, just type in YieldMax ETF. You'll be able to see this info for yourself. And as you can see at the very bottom, we have SQY here. So let's go ahead and I don't know if it's not going to let me look at it from the home page. Well, whatever the case, we know it's available on the market. We know that it can be bought. Now, what do I think that the dividend amount's going to be? Well, we're going to take a look at that here for a minute. As soon as I can actually pull it up here. Okay, that is not what I wanted, and this thing's acting kind of funny. Give me a sec, guys. All right, so let's take a look at the SQY beta, see what the beta has to say here on, or not beta, sorry, not SQY, I meant to say Block Inc. The Block Inc. beta. Sorry about this, fellas. It's still pretty early in the morning here. So we got 2.34%. So basically it's about 1.25% more volatile than the S&P. Let's compare this to Tesla. So Tesla is about 2.25%. And Block, it appears to be slightly more volatile than Tesla. I mean, as you guys saw on the chart, Tesla is down, but it's not nearly down as much as Block Inc. is. Block Inc. is down way more. So if you guys thought Tesla was a bad investment, you'd really be crying the blues right now if you were in squeeze. So, but just understand, like we've said before, the Fed's raising rates. We're in a monetary tightening policy. As soon as all this crap is over, we're expecting pretty much all of the markets to go up. Of course, crypto being the exception because it's on cycles until we have mass adoption. But yeah, so anyways, let's take a look at Tesla here. Tesla's looking pretty good. As you guys can see, it is still steadily moving up along this trend line here. So from the peak to the bottom, about 74%. From trough to most recent peak here, about 150%. We go over to Square Inc. or Block Inc. I guess I'm so used to calling it Square. It's all these different companies keep changing their names, and it gets a little confusing after a while. So from peak to the bottom, got about 84%. We'll just take like a random move up here to kind of gauge like just how volatile this thing could be. So from this bottom to this peak, about 80%, which was a large move considering how small the move up was. So you get about 60%. And then from this bottom to this peak, about 77%. So, I mean, it's had some pretty good moves up, but nothing major. I guess the most relevant thing we could use would probably be like something like this right here. 51%. As you guys can see, the higher the price gets, the less of a percentage gain you get. This is one thing that we mentioned in crypto. Well, it's always better to buy at the bottom than it is to buy at the top or after the halving, basically. So based on the beta alone, if Block Inc. is slightly more volatile than Tesla, or I should say Block Inc. is slightly more volatile than Tesla, we can assume that the yield on SQY would be roughly about that and or slightly higher than the yield on Tesla. So SQY would probably be, I would say maybe roughly about 55%. If we get a 55% yield, we might be taking a look at maybe 60, 65 cents. Let's just use a random number here and say it's 65 cents. So, if you bought 100 shares of SQY, it'd be 65 cents. That'd get you about $100 a month, and it would cost you, or not $100 a month. You get $65 a month, and based on the price, it would cost you about $1,900 to buy 100 shares. So 1896 times 100. Yeah, 1896 in terms of dollar amounts. So this is our video on SQY. We don't have a whole lot of info yet. We have to wait and see what the distribution is going to be, how the price action is going to work on both Square and SQY, or Block Inc. and SQY. But yeah, anyways, if y'all enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.